Batten down the hatches and take the helm. It's time for adventure, seaside headlines, and a splash of mischief. Welcome to Marine Conservation Happy Hour, where coastal news meets pirate spirit, and every story comes with a twist. And now, your host, Dr. Scarlet Smash and Dr. Craken McCracken.
This is the Marine Conservation Happy Hour. I'm Dr. Scarlet Smash, and this is Dr. Craken, and we are your local Florida swashbucklers, bringing you Florida ocean and bay news topics, pirate stories, and shenanigans. Grab your drink and come on board. All right, welcome right here in Tampa Bay. There's a whole world going on underneath the oceans, and for most of us, we can't see it unless we're diving, but they're much closer than you think. We're talking about sharks, and guess what? This May 16th, the world is coming to life in a massive big way. We have an incredible event coming up. It's Sharkapalooza. It's going to be one of the kind event. It's going to have all these ocean lovers. It's going to be a family event. It's going to be for the curious minds. It's going to be an unforgettable experience centered around what? Sharks. That's right, sharks conservation. And what makes this event really exciting is that we get to connect with all the incredible people that are working for our oceans and with sharks, just like our local organization, the Florida Aquarium, which is always one of the biggest leading organizations here in Tampa that's dedicated to marine research and education and protecting the species that we call home. So today, we are joined by two amazing guests. We have Jessica Adenich, the organizer behind Sharkapalooza, and we have our returning guest, Eric Hovland, also known as the Shark Guy, who is an animal care specialist at the Florida Aquarium, who works closely with shark species every day, even holds them. So let's not postpone this anymore. Let's say hello to both of our guests. Hello, Jess. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you guys.
Eric, we are so delighted to have you back again. This is just such an exciting event. We're going to be at the event together, but you actually work hands-on with sharks. You're called the Shark Guy. You're like pretty much famous in our area as the shark expert. So my question is, what are the most common shark species people would encounter in Tampa Bay and in Clearwater?
Well, sure. There's about 4 sharks that you're very likely to see that call Tampa Bay its home. And first, let me just say thank you. Thank you again for welcoming me to the forum today. You can certainly call me the Shark Guy. That's a title I've absolutely earned in my 31 years at the Florida Aquarium from the early days on. In those years I've been at the aquarium, some of the residents of Tampa Bay that you can always count on being out there are blacktip sharks, and as well as bonnethead sharks, one of the smallest of the hammerhead species that you're likely to see out there, even right off of Bayshore Boulevard, as well as bull sharks and nurse sharks that can be found in their Tampa Bay and coastal waters right in our neighborhood. Those are some of the common ones. You might also come across a great hammerhead, as well as spinner sharks, which are similar to blacktips. You might see them leaping out of the water, and then lemon sharks also. And most of these you're going to see in those warmer months, which is almost all the months in Florida, but from the spring well into October.
Well, I didn't really realize that sharks can just spin out of the water. And
exciting to see.
I know. Okay. Absolutely exciting to see.
For the shark.
And is it an action that they're doing to, attack something at the surface like a bird?
Yeah, yes and no. What the action may just be is a couple of reasons. And you'll see this not confined to just spinner sharks, hence the name. They are almost identical looking to blacktip sharks, except for one little tip of that anal fin on the back of the blacktip shark isn't black, but it is on a spinner. So they look very similar, very shark-shaped shark, classic sharks. As they swim through, and these are sharks that often school, or you might see them in a shimmer, one of my favorite words for a group of sharks. as they swim along together and say are going after smaller mullet or some of the greenbacks that you might see out here, pilchards out in the bay, they will swim and sometimes sort of spiral through that school, if nothing else, just to take out a few more prey. And sometimes that just breaks the surface as well. It looks like a lot of fun, but it may just be part of their hunting strategy. So it's not so much what they're getting out of the water as just the speed. And it really speaks to just the power behind all of these sharks. With just a flick of the tail, they can become airborne for a second or two. And it may also be to shrug off or shake off shark suckers or remoras. I've seen them sometimes accompany sharks in a consensual fashion, and sometimes it's just kind of like, enough of you guys already. I'm out of here.
So it's not like the dolphins where they might be spinning to communicate with each other.
Precisely. Yeah. That's probably communication on a different level that, in a more social animal like marine mammals like dolphins and whales. Although, and we'll get to this later, social doesn't just cut off at animals that we think of as already social, like a pod of dolphins, but we're learning much more about sharks and rays in these fashions as well.
You did mention bull sharks. So they are in the area of Tampa Bay, you're saying. And if so, have you seen one? And what's the biggest
It's the thickest.
The thickest. I'm just terrified of sharks. I love them, but I'm scared of them.
Yeah, well, it's natural enough, even to back up on that phobia of sharks. That's not inherent in human nature, like the very reasonable fear of spiders for some people that might have this fear. But, where we would encounter spiders and snakes in our day-to-day lives, historically, sharks were pretty much something in the water that didn't get a lot of thought until a movie you might have heard about 50 years ago or so made its way in its own soundtrack onto the scene. That really changed the way we started to think about sharks. But I also find comfort in knowing that today kids aren't humming that tune so much. It's one almost as terrifying. It haunts you just as much, but it gets that kids are coming at sharks from a different direction in a positive manner. So that's really growth in the right way. But getting back to bull sharks, as they are not just in Tampa Bay. This is one of the most ubiquitous species and cosmopolitan shark species in the world. And part of it is because of their abilities. Bull sharks, and I say this not to be more discouraging, they are in many waterways, not just marine, but they are euryhaline in that that just simply means their bodies can adapt from saltwater to freshwater and how their urea is balanced in their blood. But not to get into the nitty gritty, it's in that bull sharks can go into freshwater environments and in fact make their homes in areas like Lake Nicaragua and in lakes in Australia. So if you kind of circumscribe the globe, the tropics, the subtropics, aquatic environments, marine wise, are likely to have bull sharks. They're very resilient and adaptive species. And like I say, they especially move into freshwater to pup. It's a safer environment. The mangrove environments are a good nursery home for smaller sharks, like lemon sharks in particular, bull sharks too. You might even see them up the Hillsborough River. In fact, this is one of my favorite statistics to quote from my early days in the Wayback Machine when I was first getting my career off the ground, and we would do a dive program in Texas, and we would talk about bull sharks that were swimming around us at the time in that old aquarium environment, my first place, Sierrama, but also a bull shark that had been caught all the way up the Mississippi River in Alton, Illinois. And that's roughly 1,700 miles as the shark swims, almost 1,800, but that was almost 100 years ago. And of course, the Mississippi is a different river now with locks and dams and et cetera. But it just shows you how far a shark like that can penetrate, and perhaps just following a food source, but also just being a shark. But they are a resilient shark. They get good size. The ones I've seen in, say, Sarasota Bay were maybe 5-6 feet long. But this is a species that can get upwards of 8 feet and, put on a couple 100 pounds. And they're a particularly thick shark.
So you do work with the Florida Aquarium. And what are science still trying to learn about sharks in Florida?
There's a whole plethora of information that we're still coming to understand. And, be it the Florida Aquarium or Florida Institute of Technology or USF, we're in a great place to study marine creatures and elasmobranchs like sharks and rays in particular, from Miami to the Panhandle. And you can see, various species along our coast, be it the Gulf or the East Coast. So one of the things that we're touching upon is just learning, and maybe you've even seen this headline recently, that these sharks are forming potentially social bonds as we track sharks, and I say we, the collective of science, in Florida and in the Southeast in general, understanding these sharks' movements as we have better tagging and tracking abilities, from satellite tags to just simply fisheries data that can tag a shark with a physical tag and then recover that shark and know where it's been traveling. But you can also learn who those sharks have been spending their time with. And getting back to the bull sharks, it's becoming apparent that some of these sharks spend time with other particular individual bull sharks. So I first heard about this kind of research a couple of years ago off of Miami, in that the mobulids, or what we commonly call manta rays, young ones were spending time with other manta rays of similar size and age, if not all their life, but like summer buddies in a way, that they were spending time with the same. And if we look at the rays, they're essentially flat sharks, similar physiology, similar derivation millions of years ago. But there you kind of looked at it like, well, the mantas, the mobulids, are known for having a pretty large brain capacity compared to their body. But now we're hearing this about bull sharks as well, where that brain may be designed more so not for just eating and reproducing and traveling and navigating, but perhaps finding strength in numbers. In the associates that you spend your time with might make for a more successful hunting strategy. So I think that's really fascinating. Just one aspect of sharks that we're coming to understand through the research of others here in Florida.
So you're saying that sharks have friends?
But that's cool information. You know what I mean?
At the very least, summer buddies. Yeah.
So in terms of your research, are you doing anything related specifically to the marine conservation issues for sharks in the local
area? Well, let me
area?
share some of the, yeah, absolutely. I'll have to get in the Wayback Machine a little bit there. About 10 years ago, a dozen years ago, one of the programs that we at the Florida Aquarium became very involved with involved bamboo sharks and sand tiger sharks. So sand tiger sharks you can see featured in our largest habitat at the Florida Aquarium. We have 3 boys in there that are sand tigers that you might see in particular off the east coast of Florida, especially up to the Carolinas. They like to populate around the wrecks in the summer, and they are often found in large groups of females, males, and sometimes together for reproduction. But all that said, this is a species that is found in other parts of the world. And although their populations are healthy here in U.S. waters, where we have very good fisheries management data to support that, off of the coast of South Africa, where that same shark is called a spotted ragged-toothed shark, or off of Australian coastline, where they're called gray nurse sharks. It's still the same species, but their success, and I should say their conservation status, is very different, especially off Australia. So there's an emphasis for aquariums to kind of take the reins on sourcing animals like sand tiger sharks. And can we look to a future where we can produce these sharks in an aquarium environment? Now, that's a large endeavor. And where I will say we've had successes, it was started with something as simple as another species of shark. And this goes back to about 2015, 2016. We were getting this research off the ground with a consortium of other aquariums, including Georgia Aquarium and Ripley's Aquarium up in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. And then also, I'm going to do my best to get the acronym right, the Southeast Zoological Association for Reproduction and Conservation, or CZARC, located up in Georgia. And with that organization that has, broken ground on reproducing populations of animals you might expect to hear about, like elephants and zebras, for example, and to help, support those populations that are threatened or endangered in the wild, we turn that kind of knowledge and that path of science towards the sand tiger sharks. And can we ultimately use the other AI, artificial insemination, to help reproduce these sharks in an aquarium or in a human care environment? And the successes we had was, first off, starting off to cryopreserve the gametes, in particular the sperm of the bamboo sharks. And that's where the Florida Aquarium came in, because bamboo sharks are sharks that reproduce throughout the year. Instead of seasonally like a sand tiger shark, where it's only every 2 years, bamboo sharks produce a bit differently too. Instead of live birth like a sand tiger, they produce egg cases. You might think of them as mermaid's purses when we see them on the beach sometimes. And this Southeast Asian species of the bamboo shark, named for just that reason, they only get about 1 meter long, and they've got banded stripes like bamboo. But to get back to it, these egg cases that they produce throughout the year make it much easier to study their reproduction, and therefore are a great model to determine, can we preserve the semen that we became very adept at extracting from bamboo sharks, at the Florida Aquarium. A simple massage procedure that it produces the gametes that we can then offer to the researchers to cryopreserve and see if they can take those to another facility and fertilize basically reanimate that semen, fertilize the ova of other bamboo sharks, and then raise those to fruition. And very successful with that back in, again, the late 20 teens to produce over 100 offspring of bamboo sharks. So now we know the cryopreserve and artificial insemination techniques can work. And ultimately that culminated in the real goal of reproducing a sand tiger through artificial insemination. And back in 2022, that's exactly what happened at Ripley's Aquarium, Myrtle Beach, where they had one pup born. And these are pups that are born almost a meter long. There's a whole story about one of my favorite terms, interuterine cannibalism, that takes place inside of the sand tiger shark before one is pup. That is really fascinating. That pup came out and was named Rip, appropriately enough. And that was, again, just the product of a whole consortium of aquariums and researchers working together. And not so much that one pup was produced, but the fact that the world could focus on the positive value of supporting sharks in an aquarium and bringing to light that these are animals that may seem that they have no vulnerabilities in the wild, especially if you think of the movie version of them. But these are animals that are very fragile in many ways and need our support, need our care. And whereas it may help an aquarium in all the way to the other side of the world in Australia maintain a population of sharks that people can enjoy in an aquarium environment, because not everybody can see them in the water, it also helps just send a message that these sharks are important enough to put this kind of effort and research into. And I think it really helps to change that narrative on what it is to be a shark and why do sharks even have importance in our lives.
All hands on deck, raise a glass, and ready the crew. Now, back to Marine Conservation Happy Hour. Bold, briny, and just a bit rebellious. Now, your hosts, Dr. Scarlett Smash and Dr. Craken McCracken.
So you've basically produced test tube shark babies, but you made a comment there that I want to come back to, because a lot of people think that sharks are fish, they lay eggs just like other fish, but you mentioned intrauterine cannibalism.
Yeah, talk about a different sibling rivalry. Right?
Yeah,
and joke I always make.
And some of these sharks
I'm gonna eat you.
give birth to live babies. So imagine giving birth to a meter-long baby shark.
Yeah, that just ate its sibling. You know what I mean? Like, woo!
Family dinner, all right.
I know, right?
I couldn't eat another fin. It really does. It highlights the diversity of sharks. Yeah, more primitive sharks like horn sharks, bamboo sharks. Earlier in the lineage, it was all about laying those egg cases. You can get a lot of them out there. You take your odds and, kind of roll that dice that if I produce a number of offspring over a year, then even if they're little pups coming out of that little egg case, and somebody's going to make it. It's the same strategy as sea turtles laying hundreds of eggs versus the other end of that spectrum is and that's oviparous, essentially like a chicken. You're laying an egg. That egg is going to hatch out later on. It's going to be completely independent. Then you have ovoviviparous, where you might have the eggs hatch internally and a pup is still born live. And there's a lot of shark species that fall into that category as well. But then you get into viviparous, where it's basically almost like a mammalian birth, in that shark is supported internally. Now, in some cases, they can be ovophagous, where they are basically shark pups eating eggs that are produced within the womb or within the uteri of a shark. And you might be small pups that are eating perhaps unfertilized ova that are coming your way. So, okay, eggs, it's what's for dinner. But in the case of the sand tiger shark, this is really a unique strategy in that not only are the eggs being produced as food for, the strongest pup, but those pups are actively hunting throughout each side of, there's 2 uteri. So at the most, that shark is going to produce 1 to 2 offspring every 2 years. So it's hard to catch up from that. And that's why it's so important but again, to not bury the lead. These sharks are hunting throughout these uteri, and they're hunting each other. It's, Hunger Games has got nothing on sand tiger sharks.
I can't even imagine what the female is feeling with inside. You know what I mean? When
it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
And, these are sand tiger females that can be 10 feet long. So once again, if you're going to harbor a couple meters of shark ready to go in, roughly like a year or so gestation period, it's one of my favorite stories of shark reproduction and just sharks in general, their diversity. Like, who would have thought? And yet these are really easygoing sharks. They got a reputation for, again, go back to the movies, and back in the 70s and 80s, these sand tigers or gray nurse sharks in Australia, they made easy target practice. They swim along in schools pretty slowly, and one of the slower swimming sharks in the water. Part of that is because another cool adaptation, they can gulp air into their stomach, into their esophagus, and basically create, if you're a scuba diver, you know what I mean about maintaining neutral buoyancy. And these sharks can do that as well, and thus they can really swim with low expenditure of energy, get by on just a little bit of food. So, it also kind of throws that myth aside of just never-ending predators. Having fed sand tiger sharks myself for years and years, they can be finicky. Sometimes they just don't even want their 1% to 2% of their body weight per feeding, per week even, that they can get by on very little. And that's where, again, especially if a big female is investing all her calories in raising two big old pups, they need to be efficient.
Well, we definitely are excited to have you at this event. So on that note, let's go to Jess, the organizer. Also, she's been on our show a few times.
Yes.
2 times. This is your third. And we're just so happy that all this is coming to fruition. Tell us about Sharkapalooza.
Yes. So thank you again for having me on and also just supporting the mission and the cause. So Sharkapalooza is now officially a nonprofit, and it is a art and ocean conservation festival. And that means is that it's a juried art show. So there's going to be a plethora of artists that have ocean subject mattered artwork in various different materials and artwork. And then also having the nonprofits and the aquariums there in ocean conservation. As a designer and artist myself, I've been doing artwork and design work to promote ocean conservation for years. And I felt like there was a space to create where both worlds come together. Not everybody enters ocean conservation through scientific facts, or maybe they live inland and they're not able to, like Eric said, really experience sharks in their natural habitat or even get to an aquarium. So often art can be a vehicle to raise awareness, inspire, and educate. And what a better place than Clearwater to bring those two worlds together in a festival that has food trucks and live music and sunshine.
Maybe a little bit of beer.
And Dr. Scarlet Smash and Dr. Craken, too. We're going to be there.
Yes, exactly. And it's completely free to the community, but we're very excited because Florida Aquarium is going to be there with Eric, bringing in shark experts, Moat Aquarium, Clearwater Marine Aquarium, and also O-Search, who's our conservation benefactor partner. They're going to be on site. A lot of other nonprofits in the area, like Keep Canals Beautiful. We're doing a beach cleanup with them May 8th. So yes, it's called Sharkapalooza. It's all about sharks, but it really is that whole big picture of our oceans and how they really affect every aspect of our life. That as human beings, you don't have to be a marine biologist to make a difference. Just those little changes in our life, or doing a beach cleanup, once a month, can make a difference.
So you did mention that it is free. So no one has to pay to get in. This is a perfect event to bring, like, for grandparents to bring their grandkids, or a good event for the family to come to. And
I'm planning to do some shopping. I'm going to get some gifties there.
Oh gosh, Dr. Craken, I'm going to have a little leash on you. But
we will have swag there on site, but we did also just launch our website apparel shop. And on there, Danny O'Connor, he is a very well-known artist actually in New York, and he's very busy. He's not able to make it to our actual event, but he did artwork for us that is on merch that you can buy at sharkapalooza.org. And obviously, being a nonprofit, the money's being raised for field work for shark conservation.
Okay, so what other things can people expect?
So we're really hoping that people can come with their friends and family. And as human beings, we can't live under the sea, right? We would love that. We would love to be Atlantis or Little Mermaid or, Aquaman, if you're into him, but we can't. And artwork is a really great way to bring that piece of the ocean back home. And feel connected to it. I think many of us probably in a past life felt like maybe we were there. And so it's something that we need to protect. And a lot of people don't understand that once sharks disappear from our oceans, that's really a telltale sign that they're very unhealthy. And we know through trackers that sharks are actually among us and not hurting us. That's their home. They live there, and we want them to live there.
This is going to be such a fun event. So this event is May 16th. It starts at 10 a.m. and it goes to 4 p.m. I suggest to get there early because if there are a lot of vendors, there'll be a lot of free items being given away. And if you come too late, usually all those free items are gone. Yeah, exactly. But for everyone, this is free. It's going to be at Coachman Park, Clearwater, Florida. It's going to have art. It's going to have scientists. It's going to have entertainers like Dr. Craken and I. It's going to have food.
It's going to have beer.
It's going to have beer.
So for that lineup, for the food and beverage lineup, we're actually going to have Donut Envy, which is a local donut truck that makes fresh donuts on site.
Love them.
We also have Frio Pops, the popsicle truck. The hummus food truck is going to be there. And everyone's favorite Giggle Waters will be on site, and they will be our beer and wine vendor. And then we do have some musical acts that we will be announcing soon there. And we're doing a raffle. So every artist is actually donating a piece of artwork to help us raise money for shark conservation. So that is the point of the festival, is for us to raise money and support artists. So if you're buying a piece of artwork or, being part of the raffle, buying tickets, it's all making a difference.
Oh, I love it. We're so excited. We can't wait to see you at the event. And anyone that's listening, get there at 10 a.m. Dr. Craken and I have some things that we're going to be giving away, and come take pictures with us. We'd love to talk to you. Eric would love to talk to you too. And Jess will be running around crazy probably because she is running the show.
Yes, but if you want to say hi to me, just go to the volunteer tent and say, hey, where's Jess? And they'll find me. I would love to say hello to everyone that I can, because this really, as Sharkapalooza, we have 4 pillars as our nonprofit, and that's art, education, conservation, and community. And our main goal with this is really truly bringing together everyone. It doesn't matter what type of industry you're from or your background, we can all be in this together. As cheesy as that sounds, but
I love it. I can't wait. It's going to be one big shark party, and I love it.
And I also want to mention, because this is new on the website, if you are out of state or even just a few hours away, we do have hotel partners in the area that are offering room block discounts. They're listed on our website. We have an attend page that talks about parking and traveling to and from the event. But if you'd like to make it a staycation and stay for the weekend in Clearwater or Tampa, we have hotel partners.
And what's the website?
Sharkapalooza.org.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Eric, for coming on the show again.
I have to say really quick, Jess, I was at the first Sharkapalooza. I remember it back at 81 Bay Brewing. I was so excited when I heard about that. It's like, did I make this up? How is this happening? Right, that's right in my neighborhood. I could ride the bike right on down there. So I'm really proud of how this has grown. I'm really excited to see, what it's become now. But yeah, I was at those first couple of ones, and it just gets bigger and better, just like sharks.
That's awesome. And on that note, see, how can you not want to go to this event? Thank you so much both for being on the show.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And for everyone that's listening, if you like us, come find our podcast, the Marine Conservation Happy Hour podcast. Follow us on social media, Dr. Scarlet Smash and Dr. Craken.